What's good, YouTube? Sensational CLANCY'S here, and I'm back with another Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video. We're here for September 3rd, 2021's vendor reset. So let's get right into this to see what we got good for this week. For our first gear items, head over to Camp Hudson. Here the weapons vendor has an MG5. For our next gear items, head over to the Meat Locker. Here the weapons vendor has a custom L86A2. And also here we got an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to the base of operations. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 3% smart cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the weapons vendor, and here we got a VX1 scope times 12. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the gear vendor, and here we got a prototype electronics mod with 267 electronics and 1% critical hit chance. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the advanced weaponry vendor, and here we got a military AK-47M. Next here we got a SASG-12. Also here we got a military MK-46. Next here we have a heavy magazine spring. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special equipment vendor, and here we got an MP7. Next here we got a police MK-17. Also here we got a tactical M249 Para. Next here we got an operator mask with the talent refreshed. Next here we got a Spec Ops armor with the talent reckless. Also here we got some tactical gloves with the talent savage. Next here we got a high velocity magazine. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special blueprints vendor. Here we got a firearms knee pad blueprint with a gear score of 256. For our next gear items, head over to Camp Clinton. Here the special equipment vendor has a historian. Next here we got a tactical mask with the talent rehabilitated. Next here we got a Spec Ops armor with the talent reckless. Also here we got an operator pack with the talent relentless. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Clinton. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got a military M9 blueprint with a gear score of 256. Next here we got a firearms knee pad blueprint with a gear score of 256. Also here we got electronics knee pads blueprint with a gear score of 256. For our next gear items, head over to Dante's Run. Here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent relentless. And also here we got a prototype firearms mod with 264 electronics and 3% signature ability resource gain. For our next gear items, head over to Wolf's Den. Here the weapons vendor has an M249B. And also here we got a vertical grip OD green. For our next gear items, head over to Autumn's Hope. Here the gear vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 192 firearms and 3% damage to elites. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4% turret damage. Here the gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent tenacious. For our next gear items, head over to the Ward. Here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% sticky bomb damage. For our next gear items, head over to the Grindhouse. Here the weapons vendor has a military M60E4. For our next gear items, head over to West 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5% first aid self-heal. And then also here we have an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to West 39th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5.50% first aid ally heal. And also here we got an extended magazine. For our next gear items, head over to West 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a military M60E4. For our next gear items, head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an MG5. And also here we got an Omega rifle suppressor. For our next gear items, head over to East 58th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has some gunslinger gloves with the talent savage. For our next gear items, head over to the Park Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a covert SRS. For our next gear items, head over to East 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Lova C. Next here we got a prototype electronics mod. For our next gear items, head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical Vector 45 ACP. Next here we have an operator mask with the talent tenacious. For our next gear items, head over to East 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a classic RPK 74. For our next gear items, head over to DZ2 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has some operator gloves with the talent savage. For our next gear items, head over to DZ8 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the talent enduring. And also here we got an operator pack with the talent inventive. For our next gear items, head over to DZ9 safe room. Here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a heavy magazine spring. Next here we have an Omega rifle suppressor. And also here we got a vertical grip. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video for September 3rd, 2021's vendor reset. Hope everybody tuned into it, found them something that they needed. Smash on that sub and like button, y'all. Appreciate that support, and I'll see y'all with the next one. Take care, peace.